How you doing? My name is Brandon, and I've been wanting to make one of these videos for a little while. I've seen a lot of videos going over medicine stuff on YouTube, and so let me start off like a lot of people I've seen do this. That I'm not a doctor. I've never had any medical training, gone to school, gone to college or anything, but nothing medical. So obviously, these are my experiences and, things that are happening to me. So I'm just trying to share that, out there, because one of the things I ran into dealing with the problems of coming off of prescribed medications, in this particular case would be from the benzo family, benzo diap, or whatever that word is, but Klonopin for sure. And even under a as directed situation, started finding that there was some complications that I was unfamiliar with, didn't expect, and had to draw on some of my own history through life to figure this out, along with some research and kind of trusting some doctors and learning, you got to be careful with which ones you can trust and which ones are in the know or whatever. It wasn't until I ran across some people on YouTube that I started really believing that what was happening here was not just, to me, but was happening almost, I don't want to say epidemic, but it seems pretty bad. And it's nothing like seeing people on YouTube that are acting like you or look like you or hurting like you and seeing it in their eyes. One, sufferer to another, the same things, And even sometimes you have to show people that too, to get them to believe. So anyways, I'm going to make some other videos to go along with a lot of these, but I wanted to get this one out there real quick for everybody. I'm going to go back and talk about some of my timeline through life, actually. So when I tell you that I believe if you're suffering from what they call the pause, which is post-acute withdrawal syndrome, or interdose withdrawals, or just withdrawing, in general, you can beat this. It is very difficult. It might be very close to saying it's the toughest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. Probably is, but kind of don't want to jinx that, and make something worse come along. So some of my own life experiences have helped me in figuring out what's going on and not losing my cool, because people that know me, I had through my life had a tendency to definitely lose my cool. So I'm surprised in this situation that I'm actually keeping things fairly calm, which is kind of the opposite of what you would expect coming off of benzos. But that's not to say I'm not having a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and that's for sure. It's remembering and using your own wisdom, and you're listening to yourself and things that have helped me. So I'll do other videos that talk about so you can get to know whether or not, it's somebody, my background and everything leads you to believe that these answers I've come to have any, substance or whatever, But I'm basically, one of the things I've been driven to through this is realizing that there are so many people out there that are suffering, and I work on the internet, that's what I do for a living. I'm very fluent with the internet, have been for many, many years, and I too was surprised that it took me this long to come across YouTube. Which, obviously everybody uses YouTube, but I had never gone on YouTube thinking, hey, let me check out and see if there's other people out there suffering like this. And then, like I said, once you see that, it really kind of like puts things in perspective and gives you a sense of an acceptance with it. So I appreciate everybody making those videos. I'm going to be dropping some links in the bottom underneath the video to some of those people that, helped me out. If one thing I can say about those people, and I don't know them, I've chatted just in comments, it's not like we know each other, so but they're the real, you talk about who you look up to and who are like role models and stuff. These are people who have basically, I guess, come to where I am. It's like, you have to accept what you're going through, and then you can just say, what am I supposed to do now? Because it's so limiting, it's derailed me in my life. And you start thinking, well, what am I here for? What am I doing? I'm sure I'm not the first person to go through this who's thought about ending their life, and when it goes on for months and months and months, and then some people say it goes on for 18 months or longer, it really destroys the mind. And sometimes you get to the point where you're like, well, maybe I got to share my wisdom and share my experiences with people, and maybe that's what I'm going to try to live for right now. Maybe you have a faith, maybe you don't, but either way, maybe you can get to where you just say, I want to do something with my life, besides, things we all do every day or things we take for granted, and you decide, yeah, I'm going to try to share this with people, because I know it took me this long to get onto YouTube, and I'm working on the internet, working in social media, that's what I do. And I just realized this year about how to look outside the box, look at YouTube videos instead of just researching Google and going to doctors. When you realize that might be a window somebody else can see through, then it's a little encouraging, gives you a little purpose. At least that's where I'm at. I've always felt like I wanted to help people. I guess this is how I'm supposed to do it or something. More direct, I guess. But so one of the problems you'll probably already know, if you're in this, dealing with withdrawals, pause, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, or interdose withdrawals, or the tons of names for probably tons of things that come out of this, from extended long-term use of benzos, then you already know what I'm about to say, but you're frantic a little bit, you talk really fast. I've probably covered like 5 topics in the last 5 minutes, and I'm not even aware of it, but it feels to me that your brain is healing, but is still quote unquote damaged at the same time. So you're having like firing thoughts, you're remembering things, you're almost relearning things at the same time as things are not all together. So I picture it like you're going through a maze, and you're used to going through that maze 15 times. If you're trying to send the signal to the other side of the maze after you've solved the maze, go through it really fast, and you know how to get to them. That's what your brain does all through your life with signals, whether it's pain, thoughts, involuntary stuff, whatever. But when you start taking these medicines over an extended period of time, there's a common belief that it shuts certain things down, which makes sense because chemical imbalances, it balances things to a degree. So when this thing starts wearing off, whether it's antidepressants and or benzodiazepine, whatever the word is, then it gets to where it almost, to me, feels like it's going through, it's opening up areas, and it gets to a roadblock and then has to reroute. So you end up having kind of like a form of deja vu happening all the time. It's probably not the right way to describe it, but it is very hard to keep thoughts in order. By the time you're discussing one thought, you're ready to jump onto another one. One of the problems I've run into with people, especially my wife, is we're always known for interrupting. That got worse because she can be talking and I'm already moving on to the next thought, which comes off as not acknowledging what they're saying, and you do, but you either are already thinking about the next thought, kind of like an ADD thing, or you're defensive in some way, shape, or form, because at this point, for me, I'm 6 months off of using the Klonopin, and you're still going through things, and so you get some people are like, oh, I've never had these experiences, or I heard that it's not like that, and it causes this defensive nature over time, because as we know, we are going through it. So just, I want to let you guys know that if I can do this, I'm doing it right now, I haven't keeled over yet, so if I can do it, and I've been through a lot of stuff, in my life. I'm 44 years old, and I was once told that through therapy and things like that, that I might have been through at least one traumatic event, what we call traumatic events, here, traumatic, or witnessed a traumatic event about one time a year, possibly, on average, for my life. That's a lot, and I can accept that and everything, but it makes things very difficult when you're coming off of something that helped you deal with anxiety. And one of the things they say, other than the frantic nature and the combination of thoughts, is you can expect those things that you were put on for it to get dramatically worse, at least in the short term, short to long term, whatever. And that's definitely been true in my case. Anxiety has been through the roof. I thought that I had anxiety before, and it's been really, really intense. That's worse. Depression has gotten dramatically worse. Those things are the obvious. The other things, I'll just go through a timeline briefly, because I'm going to make other videos to discuss this stuff. to give like more. I plan eventually on going through year by year. It'll take a while, but of my life, so you can get an idea of what built up to where I was. And then some other ones where I talk on a more regular basis about what I'm going through now, so we can get an update on my progress. So whether you're ahead of me, behind me, or with me, or whatever in your journey through getting off of the medications, or you've been off the medications and you're still suffering, then you'll be able to kind of help gauge. You know, we're all different, but at the same time, we can all learn from this. We are essentially one, fighting through this. And, you know, the doctors either don't want to know or don't know, or, you know, not going to get all conspiracy, but it just, y'all know as much as I do. You go online and you see, you know, Benzo buddies. There's all these things online you can go to and just see tons of information. And then you go to YouTube and type it in, and there it is. So I don't believe that everybody is lying and that great of actors. It just, you know, doesn't seem like that's the possibility really. But and then when I'm going through it, you know, I'm not lying about it to myself. So some of the things that happened to me in the first 3 days. First of all, I was taking 1 milligram of Klonopin. I was prescribed in 2012 around September. From 2005 to 2012, I had had a mysterious illness, as they called it. And I'll talk about that in the other videos, but eventually they had to take my appendix. It was a mess. But afterwards, I had PTSD, they said, from the 7 years of having that mysterious illness undiagnosed and all this. So naturally, you know, hey, every time you get a stomach ache or whatever, they took mine out at the end of June, early July. So by September, they had me on 1 milligram of Klonopin, along with, I believe, Lexapro, which later got moved to as Cymbalta, but which that's another story. But the Klonopin was at 1 milligram, and I basically immediately, you know, okay, and I went home and I told my wife that, you know, I'll do this because, you know, they're saying I have to. One of the things they said that I was doing, that I definitely was doing, was at night when I would sleep, I would fall asleep and then start grinding my teeth. Evidently grinding them like to where it sounded like rocks were being chewed in my mouth. And I'd wake up really sore and everything, so they gave me mouth guard or whatever, and then I chewed that up like, you know, when you, they say the dogs shoot up the retainer kind of thing. And so it was kind of like, hey, you can't chew on a thing like that in your sleep, you'll choke. So Klonopin, you know, to knock that out. And it did, you know, for like within a week I wasn't doing that, and it's great. So, but then immediately I was like, you know, I've only taken it one time a day, 1 milligram, let me break this in halves. So I did. It was in the week, went down to half, maybe 3/4 when I needed it or whatever, but it wasn't a take as needed for anxiety, it was take as needed at night when you go to bed versus taking an Ambien or whatever. So I did that, you know, and the next few months I had a doctor raise that up to 1.5 because I told him, hey, this isn't really effective, I'm just gonna cut it, you know, I'm already cutting down. And he kind of not scolded me, but was like, hey, you don't break those, I'm the doctor, you're the patient, you trust me. Okay, you know, after 7 years of having a diagnosed illness, I was willing to listen to a doctor, so I did, but I still kept cutting, never took the full amount, never abused it. And so from 2012, the end of that, September of that year to January of this year, which is 2018, I took them as directed or less. Now along that way I was cutting down, and I didn't realize that is some of the problems I had going the last 2 years were the result, last 2-3 years were the result of, I guess, what they call interdose withdrawals. And I'll get into that in other times, but the doctor said, the new doctor at the time said, yeah, you know, you can jump. I was down to like 0.5 milligram, like I said. That's pretty much all I needed. I didn't feel like it was helping anyways, so I finally asked the doctor, hey man, do I need to take this? And, no, you're good to go if you're only taking 0.5 milligram. So I jumped at 0.5 milligram, which I thought was good. Come to find out now that was disastrous, that it's a small amount, but in the big world, Klonopin is got a hell of a half-life. It's like 36 hours, you know, just a half. So, you know, any amount of Klonopin for 5.5 years is rough. And I didn't know that, and I guess the doctor didn't know it either, whatever. So about 3 days after that quit, I had a first, what they call a mini seizure. That's what the doctor referred to it as, or a brainstorm of some sort. If you're familiar with the brain zaps, which I'm sure you guys are, they have like the electrical currents running through your head or zapping you, and you feel really anxious all the time. I was having that. My eyes felt like they were crawling, like, you know, with bugs or something. I knew this wasn't happening, but I felt it. So I did have some closure on the fact that I knew I actually didn't have bugs, but my mind was kind of flipping out. About 3 days in, I had that falling out where I actually, I guess, passed out, you know, but I was twitching. Well, this arm was going that way, my right leg was going the opposite way, and it was just, but I wasn't really conscious, and it was very freaky. You ended up in the ER. You know, we didn't know, still at the time we didn't know, and it wasn't until, like I said, later, started realizing. Well, after about 3 weeks of that, kind of no sleep, insomnia like crazy, and I mean like 6-7 days without complete sleep, it was rough. I started getting through that, thinking, okay, you know, but then 3 and 4 weeks starts the stomach problems, and that is where I have kind of stalled. And I know there's a lot of theories about, you know, candida, candida, whatever it is. Right now, I'm just kind of like trying to be healthy, not trying to go down that road, but I know that quitting these things can cause what they call, I guess, some sort of toxic die-off or some sort of effect on stuff. But there again, try not to overthink this stuff is my suggestion to you. If possible, research a little bit, don't research too much. And that seems to be what it all is about when you're going through this, is there's like, you know, there's always a gray area in life, and it seems like the gray area just got a little smaller or something. And so 3 weeks after that, I started having massive stomach problems, and I mean massive. At one point in time, I went 4 or 5 days without going to the bathroom. I think 3 days we were getting kind of like, we started calling the doctor, like, hey, what's going on? And they kind of said, well, he's only eating, you know, soups and broth and stuff like that, you know. But then it was like, well, he's still eating, you know, breads. And, you know, either way, I knew I had to go, if you will. But it was like my stomach just shut down. And it felt very similar to after I had surgery on my stomach in 2012. It was like just very bloated and a lot of pain. And I since have found out there's stuff called Benzo Belly, which is a weird term, but sounds funny. But it's a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. On the next video I will show, I've always been a guy who likes, lately in my life, likes to work out a little bit, especially, you know, not like like crazy, you know, ripped guy, but I'd shut that down real fast. My stomach has, even if I wanted to do crunches, it would be like just self-torture or something, because my stomach has always got a bloat to it. No matter what I do, no matter what I don't eat or anything, it's always there. And it's not like a flabby, you've got a little bit of weight, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's quite painful. A lot of people get diarrhea. I don't get that. Mine is more, I hate to be graphic, but in between. So there's a lot of stomach problems that go with it. It's gotten a little better I feel like there's an improvement every month. I know that's slow. The improvements aren't great, but it is better. However, your mind is still going nuts. So at the same time you're having stomach problems, at least I'm having stomach problems, tinnitus is one thing I hear about. I definitely feel that. It's a constant ringing, but I guess ringing is probably not the best word. If you've ever heard of a medical machine that does the heartbeat monitor and it goes to flatline and you like that, it's like a pitch of that constantly. And I don't know if that's the dizzy stuff or what, but it's always there. And when my symptoms seem like my stomach seems to be aggravated, so does it. So I've heard there's a relation between the brain and the gut, GABA receptors and things like that. Maybe that's it, not sure, but that definitely is happening with me. Insomnia still is pretty crazy, restless legs, restless limbs. Even if I'm exhausted, as soon as I lay down, boom. As it is, I haven't slept on my stomach in a month. I can't even remember the last time I slept. It's just too painful. I can put on, you know, I'm about 100, 185 pounds, give or take. One of the things that I've always worn, like a 36, 38, if I like to baggy. Right now I can wear what I want, but I'm pretty much stuck at wearing extra large boxers, if that gives you an idea. Because one of the things that hypersensitivity, meaning all your nerves, your feeling, your hearing, your seeing, all these things are really aggravated. That gray area has closed in, so you tend to feel a lot more. One of the things I notice is belts, elastic, anything even slightly too tight. I mean, you know, the kind of thing that we might have worn every day before causes massive pain. Sitting, where your legs are pushed up in your belly, hurts. Standing and sleeping tend to be a little better, but as we know, you can't sleep all the time. You definitely can't walk all the time. You get tired, so it becomes a problem. You have to be careful with what you eat. Definitely in the beginning, I did not, I learned the hard way, don't eat anything sweet. I was drinking at least 2-3 cups of coffee a day. That was a disaster. I already was prior and I had to start cutting. I love coffee. but I would recommend get rid of that. I'm still struggling with that. I'm down to half calf, half, whatever on my Keurig. But I would recommend getting it. If you don't do that, don't go there. Get rid of the coffee if you can. My experiences. The other thing is foods, that sweet, sugary stuff, anything that kind of is a stimulant of any way can be catastrophic, at least it was for me. Too many fruits, it's got natural sugars that can throw your gut and everything into crazy mode. Like I said, remember, some of this is in your head too, so, as far as I know, maybe your anxiety causes, inflammation and things like that, but when you start seeing a physical change in your appearance, a bloating, whether it's psychosomatic or whatever they call it or not, or it's really something going on, these withdrawals, it's happening, and you are dealing with it. So I mean, you're not wearing bigger sizes because you made yourself for the situation grow bigger. You are, at least I was and am. So it can be a little bit defeating. One of the things too is when these things keep stacking up and don't go away, you start feeling like it's never going to go away. And my hope is that that's not true, that it will, and I hope for you that it does as well. I also hope to get better at doing these videos because I want to be more encouraging. One of the things that has kept me from doing this up to this 6-month mark is that I've always been worried about how I come off. I hate public speaking. And even in college, I took my speech class over my laptop because we could, because I just didn't want to do it. So this is really difficult, but it's really not about me anymore. It's about everybody else who might be out there looking for this stuff, because it bothers me to know that there's people out there that have no idea. Because if I had been going through this from 2005 to 2012, or didn't have that knowledge, I could see myself going to every doctor, taking every antibiotic or whatever to cure, and them telling me, oh, it's been 6 months, you should be fine. But the facts are, you're not. And as some of the other videos on YouTube say, you're not. It's 18 months, 26 months, I'm at 6 months. The drug has left your body most likely, but what has happened is you've been damaged. A lot of people have, I don't mean damaged like you're damaged or I'm damaged, but there is this part of your brain gets kind of controlled and now it's not, and so it has to heal. And it's not like any other drug, you get it all out of your body, but then everything, your GABA receptors have to, they've been not doing like that for so long, so they've got to get right. And so believe that you will get better. Acceptance of what's going on right now is part of it for me. Try to contain your environment, bring it in a little bit. Those that are around you that don't want to believe it or are not being supportive or being more or less negative, cut it, You got to move and you got to take care of yourself. Some of the things, I don't know how much time I've got here left, but I'll just go through things you might want to look. Sensory overload. I wrote some notes down because there's a lot of stuff. Some of the things I have dealt with was sensory overload, hypersensitivity, which means sunlight just destroys me. Indoor light can be even worse. But I wear shades a lot. I'm seen on Instagram, on Twitter, or anywhere. I've always got sunglasses on if I have to, or because if I can, because it really actually hurts. Too much sun causes headaches, causes eye pain. It's crazy. Baggy clothes seem to have helped me more. The bloating hurts way more than it should. Strong odors can send you into these waves and windows. You all know what I'm talking about. Stronger foods. You got to be careful with the foods. Hearing is definitely amped up, meaning your dog's barking, someone dropping a basketball or a piece of metal next to you can just throw you off. All these things not only produce a lot of anxiety when you're in this situation, but they also produce a lot of actual physical symptoms because the GABA receptors and the gut and everything, it's all tuned in. So all your senses are exaggerated and heightened. Distorted reality. This causes panic and fear, which part of this is being stuck in the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome, as we all know in life. You're stuck there. And that's how I feel. You're stuck there and everything just continues to be crazy scary. And I don't mean like you're seeing stuff on the wall scary, but like just fear of everything, fear of sound, fear of smell, fear of feeling, fear of it is, and it's not something you can just say, hey, stop thinking that way. It's happening, it's bad, and you know it, and I know it, but you can get through it because here I am making a video, and I hate speaking on video and whatever, so I hope that these will help you in the future. I know this one's just kind of a rundown and stuff, but I I hope I get more organized and everything, but I want you to understand that you can beat this. And I want to hear that